drop me off out in the middle of the woods where I wouldn't even, where I'd be lost, and they didn't put me back where they took me from.
See, that shows some caring. I mean, they made sure you recovered, and they put you in a place where you could be found, or where you could, find your way. So,
yeah.
That's at least a plus. I don't know what kind of plus it is, but it is a plus. It shows at least some caring there, something there that they said, okay, well, we just don't want to drop this guy off in the middle of the woods somewhere. Especially if they were like taking you to recover something. It does kind of sound like that might have been what they were doing. They might have just zapped you harder than they should have, or something, and they decided, oh, you got zapped harder than you should have, and they kept you till you recovered. But I don't know. Still roaming around for 5 days while people are out looking, you got to kind of wonder about that. That's taking a big chance for it. And then if there's a facility nearby or something like that where they can hide, well, I guess they could always go back in space. We're talking about 75. Our satellites weren't all that good back then. But we had Skylab up, didn't we?
I don't know.
I'd have to go check and see. I wonder about that. That's one of the things I have to wonder about. Yeah, because I was just wondering, because it's just so strange. I mean, I'm grateful they put you back. They take you, you're gone for 5 days, and then they bring you back, weak, tired, but still fairly in decent health. So, not missing any limbs or eyeballs or toes or anything like that, which I'm sure is a plus for you. It just amazes me. And then when I think about that, and I think about the 5 days, and then I think about that guy being in the vicinity, I wonder how long the guy that was deer hunting stayed around there for. Did he say?
He didn't say. The Paramount, when they interviewed him, may have got more details, but they didn't talk too much about that, except that once they found out he had connections to the debunkers, then they, just warned him.
Yeah, because I'm curious now. I'll look more into that. Maybe we can find somebody got a record of it or something, and see what we can find. So you wouldn't, for you though, personally, you wouldn't recommend anybody to go out there and try to repeat the same thing, huh?
No, I should definitely not recommend it. I'm not saying that I definitely know they're hostile or harmful. The jury's out for me.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
It wasn't a pleasant experience, but I was returned, so I don't know.
Well, you see, that's my thing. I've always had the same approach to this. If they want to learn something, fine and dandy and all, but when you abduct people, you're still abducting them. You're still taking them against their will. Regardless if you're a nice guy or not, in the end, you still came and took this person against their will, did things to them, and then put them back and not even give them a freaking explanation why. I don't see. It's hard to see that as any way but hostile. And I understand that we can compare it to like when we go out and tag a deer or tag a polar bear or so on and so forth, but that means that they think of us about the same way, which...
Yeah, so it's not hostile, it's like callous or indifferent. Like, I could care one way or the other, and that's what came to mind when we were talking about those eyes and how it makes you feel. It's like they don't care one way or the other, and of course, if you're around people and you sense that they don't care about you one way or the other, we interpret that as hostile.
Yeah.
Even if it's not, it's just they don't care one way or the other, but it's definitely negative.
Yeah, it's hard, and see,
from our point of view.
And see, they should know us well enough by now to know that we're going to react hostile to that. We're not going to just, most humans are going to, it's preservation. We're going to fight to survive. So they have to be aware of that. You got to wonder why they do some of this stuff that they do. I keep getting questions about the shape of the eyes of both the little guys and the humans. Now I know we went over the little white guy's eye shape, but I'll get you to describe them one more time for us.
Well, they were very large. They seemed huge, but when I started working with the artist, I realized they couldn't have been as huge as it seemed at the time. It's just the way they kind of just looked right to me that made it seem gigantic. But when you start trying to make it all fit and make it look like something that you remember, then you realize that it's twice the size of ours, which is pretty dang big. But the one feature that I did notice blinked. These eyes blinked, and I know I've heard people say they don't have eyelids or they never saw them blink, but I definitely saw blinks. As far as the human-looking ones, they for all I know, they could be just some special military unit, or, from Earth. But then on the other hand, there was something about their eyes that was really odd, and I never have been able to quite put my finger on it.
It's interesting you say that, because most people who tell me they've seen what we call the human aliens, they say their eyes are either a different color or their pupils are a different shape. No one really knows what it is. It's just something off. I guess they don't see them long enough to really come out with the color. Now, I mean, I know you say like a brown color, like a chocolate brown, like a hazel brown, some sand brown.
On the little ones, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Now you didn't get. I mean, on the big ones, just like blue-eyed, green-eyed. Did you notice? Or?
Well, they were a light-colored eye.
Couldn't really get a color though, huh?
Like a hazel, but I don't know for sure, because there was just something so weird about it.
See, that's why I'm loving this interview, because I'm listening to you say things that I've heard from other people that have had experiences with an alien kind of like the one you're talking about, but still, I mean, basic size and shape, and even kind of the same color, but maybe it's just a grayer color to them, or a blue, or I don't know how you want to describe it, but it's kind of a weird color. And there's just a lot of similarities, and it just freaks me out, including the saucer-like ships, which kind of freak me out too. So, it's weird though. I had this lady tell me one time, and I had no idea if this is these guys or not, but they had said they had seen one of the races feed one time, and they absorbed this blue plasma into the skin. But before they eat, a lot of times there'll be like a white or a translucent or this weird kind of chalky white color. And as they feed on this stuff, their hue changes in their skin to a bluish, grayish type color. And like I said, I don't know if it's the same guys or have anything to do with it, but it's just odd, because a lot of what you describe, including the craft and even a lot of the technologies, seem to be like what they describe, because the Greys have technologies that don't seem to be physical in full. I mean, they'll set something on you, but there's usually no buttons, or there'll be like a light or a scan or something. A lot of stuff they control it mentally. There's not that many physical controls, but there's some, but there's not many. And I just get that basic feel of that craft. Now, what's interesting is the way you described the way it smelled. I mean, it smelled stale in there? Or?
Yeah, it was real humid and, stale. Just whatever it was gave me a claustrophobic sort of feeling.
Yeah, I can imagine it did. Now I know you've seen that craft. You got a real good. Now let me backtrack for the listeners. Was that the craft that actually, the one when you got out of it, when the guy came and got you and walked you out of the craft and brought you into the other place?
I turned around and looked at it, and it was shaped like what we saw in the woods, only it seemed bigger, but a lot bigger. But I don't know. Sure.
I don't know. Maybe when they're in rotation, they draw up or something. It might have been the same one. They may have transferred you too. There's just no way of knowing at this point. Now, the room that they brought you, and I know you said it was artificially lit and all. I mean, when you came off the ship and you were standing in that big area, it felt like a building, the ship that you sensed any movement, or
yeah, but it was such a relief to be outside there. That the brightness of the light, was a very natural sunlight sort of light, and the air was so much fresher and cooler. It was just a big relief. So it seemed kind of like out of doors, but it was inside, totally enclosed. Whether this was a hangar or a part of a larger craft, or
Well, the way you describe the air, I would think maybe an underground facility drawing in air from up top side, or a hangar drawing in air. Because the way you describe the air, it sounds fairly fresh and fairly clean. So it shouldn't have been in a clustered city area, because you can obviously smell city air.
Yeah.
Or like on a military facility, like on an air base.
If it was a ship, they could, treat the air however they wanted it to be. But if it was a building, it would probably be away from a city, unless there were processes in the air too.
Because that's where they took you and knocked you out at. And see, I guess then they must have put you on another ship and brought you back to the location. Because I remember you saying the other one was, twice or three times the width of the road or something. Yeah,
well, it was also shiny and smooth and more rounded. It wasn't the angular one that we first saw.
So they put you in a different kind of craft.